Blue Mars Media brings you this episode of Frost Bites with Kelly Frost. We create content that's relevant to your target audience.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Frost Bites. I'm Kelly Frost. Thank you for tuning in today. I tell you, we had a great episode with Marschke, and we haven't been here for a minute. We had a little bit of a accident happening with me, so it was really great to be back in the studio. We are again at Mink Studios. This is our home away from home. So it was nice to be here today, and it was great to have Al, and we also had our co-host today, Dominique Murray. Great interview, so much fun. Stick around, you're gonna love it. All right, guys, here we are for another episode of Frost Bites. We are back after a little break, and we have Al with us today. We're jumping right in, Al. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and then we also have our beautiful Dominique Murray co-hosting once again.
Yeah, thanks
she
for
did
having
such
me
a great
back.
job. We got her back.
Yes.
Can't do anything without Dom.
I can't do anything without a Kelly. Are you kidding me?
Everybody needs one, right?
Everybody needs a Kelly. Everybody needs a Kelly Frost. We need to
Aw.
change the phrase a little bit.
That's so sweet. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
So we also, I should say, we're going to have a lot of our charities on here. We also elevated you at Peel
Oh. I was like, what did we do?
to our director of operations now, too. Mm-hmm. I didn't even tell you that part.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, she's our director of operations at Peel now.
Wow.
So many hats.
Good choice. Yeah. Good choice.
We just keep throwing hats on her. She'll be catching up
toppling
pretty
over
Give
soon.
her more to
soon.
do. Keep her busy.
Yes. But we're excited to have you. I know you're always behind the scenes for us, so we wanted to put you in front of the camera.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
I kind of I like being behind the scenes. I've always been behind the scenes in television, so that was my thing. Then I recently started a podcast and was in front of the camera a little bit. So I'm not sure which I like better, but I think behind the scenes is better for me.
I think a lot of people feel that way, but I've seen you in front of the camera. So I know you do a good job of that as well. So you're multifaceted.
I'm open to it. I won't experiment. I'll experiment with it, but I won't specialize in it. So,
Yeah. But you said, TV, and so you got your start where? I mean, how did you even get into this field? That's so interesting when I ask people that question, because everybody's like, oh, I just kind of fell into it, or, I started here, I started there, and, I met this person. How did you get your start in what you're doing?
I think when I was very young, probably 11 or 12 years old, I liked pictures and taking photographs. And I think it started when I was very young, probably pre-teen. I was at a wedding with my mother, and she just gave me the camera and said, you take pictures better than I do. Why don't you take them? And it's this big brownie with a big bulb lens on it. And I'm like, click, and then crank, and then click, and then crank. And from then on, I'm like, well, this is kind of cool. And I started noticing surroundings and sceneries that I just wanted to capture. And I wasn't a painter or a drawer, so I just started thinking I wanted to take pictures on the side. And when I was 13, I saved up all my money. I had, I think, $350, and I was either going to buy a motorcycle or a camera. So my mom was real happy with my decision.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
I walked to school every day past the Suzuki shop on Powell Avenue in Erie, and there was this Suzuki in the showroom in the front window. I'm like, man, I really want that thing. I really want that thing. But I said, it's probably safer bet to get a camera. So I put my money on the table, grabbed the camera, and been taking pictures ever since. Then I went to college.
Wait, I got to pause. What kind of camera did you get?
I got a Canon AE1.
Because that's important.
Oh, that was
That's
my
a
first
very-
film camera.
Was it really?
Yeah.
There's the AE1 program, but then there's an AE1.
Mhm,
It was the
yeah.
one before the program.
It was the AE1. Yeah, my neighbor's aunt came to like my graduation party like with my neighbors who were like real close friends of ours, and she was like, hey, found this in my attic.
No kidding.
Happy graduation.
Wow. What a great present.
So yeah, and then that's when I learned to shoot manually, actually. That was my first like film class, and first time I had done anything off the like auto settings on like a Nikon Coolpix.
See, everyone remembers the first one.
Yeah, the camera that did not need a battery. And every camera after that I got up through college did not need a battery.
Huh, okay.
Because it was a shutter and an aperture. Click, click, take the picture. If you needed a battery for the meter, it would tell you if it's over or under. But it was so nice. Now everything battery. I mean, I thought when they made cameras with all these settings in it that needed a battery, I'm like, it's just an f-stop and a shutter speed. What are all these auto things? Why do you need all these settings? And it didn't make any sense to me, but eventually started leaning on. It took me a long time to get into autofocus. I did not like autofocus.
Yeah.
Just was not. I mean, I was a long time converting into that, but eventually capitulated and went to college. Decided to go to college and didn't know what to do, so I was going to do graphic arts. And then halfway through graphic arts, I was the photographer for the newspaper, photographer for the yearbook, photographer for the sports information department. I said, I should just major in photography, and then did that for a while.
And this is at Edinburgh, or
This is at Edinburgh University, and then while I was at Edinburgh, I really wanted to get into photography, so I thought, what better school to go to than RIT in Rochester, where Kodak is. Applied there, and then I got accepted, and then I was ready to go, and then I got the bill, and I'm like, wow, that's a lot of money. So I stayed out of school for a year to earn money, and while I was out that year, I saw a lot of my photography magazines turning into video magazines, so I thought photography was going away. I actually thought there's no reason for still cameras if video is here. It's the next step up, it's going to phase them out. So I started learning more about video, and then that led me to television, which led me to go back to communications, which got me a job at the school TV station at WETG that they built. Before that, before I went back to college, I walked in the front door at WJET in Erie and asked them for an application. They said, well, we have an opening, actually, so they hired me as a studio camera operator. So before I went back to my third year of college, I was already working in television, and while I was at Gannon, I got a job there as a master control operator in the TV station that I helped them build in the library in the basement that they eventually sold to WJET, coincidentally, and now they're both in the same building in Erie. But that's a history of Erie thing. It went from an independent TV station to a Fox station, so I just became enamored with video and then got a job in Pittsburgh at Channel 4 through some connections at WJET, and then was there for 14 years as a technical director and did everything behind the scenes from production, editing, technical directing, and then eventually wasn't doing what I wanted to do. My bosses were deciding what I wanted to do, and that gets into the next part where I want a little more control of my life and not someone telling me what they want me to do because it benefits their career. So I ended up jumping and starting my own production company. And I started in 96 and went full-time in 2001.
Wow.
So, and doing both video and photography. And people always ask me, what do you like better, video or photography? I like them both. I love them both, really. There isn't one I pick. The next 2 days, I'm doing nothing but photography. The past 3 or 4 days, all video. So it depends. I do both.
But it's nice to be able to mix them, too.
Yeah. Two completely different mindsets.
Yeah.
They are there are some jobs where I'll do both, and I sometimes forget this has got to be a motion thing. I got to get audio and get, all that other stuff that comes with the motion inside a frame. It's very different. And it can be a whole mind shift.
I think that's a
it's
big
challenging.
misconception too, right? Like because you own a camera, people think that you do photo and video. Like
Yeah.
just because you own
And they
a
look the same
professional
now.
camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all
I'm
the
shooting
cameras
video,
look
and everybody's smiling at me. I'm like, it's video. So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can't just stand there and smile.
That is, I
It's
do that all the
video.
time, and people are like, oh, are you done yet? And I'm like,
Yep.
it's video.
video. We're
still
Yeah.
going.
Yeah.
Talk, you have to talk. And they're like, well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a transition.
I know. We were talking the one day, and we were talking about Kim Gable, and I said, oh, yeah, she's got this. He goes, yeah, I built it.
Yeah, her little, yeah, she is. I use her for voiceover. I met her a long time ago through Comcast because when I left Channel 4, I was freelancing a lot, and Comcast is one of those companies I'd freelance for. And she came in from Fox. I think she was working at Fox at the time and did some freelance work for them. So we were doing assignments together. I was camera, and she was the reporter writing the stories. And it was, I think, high school football we did for a while. And then went into other things Comcast had. And she says, you want to do voiceover work? She bought all this gear and it's been sitting in the closet. She goes, I go, well, you should do voiceover because I need voiceover work. She goes, like, all this stuff in my closet. I don't know how to set it up. So I drove out to where she lived, went in there and set up this whole little studio for her to record it. And every now and then I'll still ask her for something. She says, well, I disconnected something. Something went wrong. Can you walk me through putting it back together? Like, all right. It was funny. But, yeah, that's very handy to have her be able to record at home and send me a file.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And she does such a nice job, too.
She does.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
She gives me 3 or 4 cuts. You know, what she says behind the cameras is funnier than sometimes she says.
I know.
I'm going to do this again and again or whatever.
Yeah.
She gets funny.
Yeah. She's a good
person
friend.
to know.
We were talking about something, and she said, oh, I can do that. I go, but it sounds like a cartoon. And she just went into this cartoon voice, and I was like, how in the heck did you just do that?
Yeah.
She's a communicator. Yeah. She
Yeah.
can change her voice. She can do
Multi-talented.
anything. Yeah.
She's like, oh, yeah, I have this whole studio in my basement, blah, blah. And then we started, he goes, yeah, I built that.
Real casual.
I was like, all right, so photographer, videographer, he builds everything.
Sound studio
Yeah.
builder.
There's a lot of things that help me earn money as a solopreneur, and one of those things is I also do live directing. So I'll direct TEDx talks in Pittsburgh, for instance. It's a live show, multi-camera, and I'll be in a control room directing the camera shots and then recording it live, and then sometimes taking it and doing the post-production on it. Wow. And I do travel with a local company that does things like HannahCon. It's Howard Hanna has this big, huge convention on the West Coast or East Coast, and then they have all these screens in this big convention center, and I direct the camera stuff on the screens, behind the scenes, behind the curtain. So I'll travel around with that company and do what's called live directing or IMAG directing and things like that. So it's another part of what I do as a technical director, because I used to do that. And then so all those things kind of help me stay busy. And photography gets slow, then video picks up, or live directing or something. It all kind of comes together.
That's fun.
Yeah, it's all communication.
So when you get up in the morning, or you're like, so what do I want to do
I
today?
love your job.
I do. When you're working for yourself, people say, well, you're your own boss, and you're not. You have 30 bosses. Every one of your clients is your boss. And you don't have one person telling you, you've got enough work, I'm going to give work to someone else now. It's all on you. And there are multiple deadlines that are the same day, the same workload. Everyone's calling you. The best analogy is when you take your car to a garage and you call him and ask him how it's going, and he's got 6 cars in there. You're not the only car. You think you're the only car there. Right. So when my client calls me, it's going to sound like they're the only thing I'm working on right now. I'm working on it right now. I got 3 projects going at the
5
same
minutes.
time. Give me a few more minutes. So procrastination is out of the question. I get jobs done as soon as I can. I put the time into them I need to, but I do not say, I got 2 weeks, I'll take 2 weeks. No. Yeah. If I've got 2 weeks, I'll have it done Thursday and still get it done early, because you never know what's coming down the pike.
That's true.
Always got to stay ahead.
Not everybody thinks like that, though. No.
You learn to.
Yeah.
It's
not everyone learns to.
I was going to say.
That might be the good one. Yeah. You're supposed to do that. If you don't, like every times in my business where there are things I wasn't inclined to do that I had to learn the hard way to do. And my first photo shoot was a complete failure. I was working at Channel 4, and the people there knew that I had a photography business on the side. So one of the guys in promotion said, we're making a commercial for a rug company, and we need a photographer. And you said you do photography. You want to come and do it? I'm like, great. I bought all this equipment. I got Hasselblad equipment. I got tens of thousands of dollars with the best medium format stuff you can get, the best lights. I go to this house, and I set all my gear up, and totally lost control of everything. It became a show. This was my first exposure to how when clients are involved, their clients' friends come, it becomes an event. It's not so much of a shoot. So as a photographer or a director, when I'm on doing a commercial or something, I'm the manager. Everything has to be done the way I say it has to be done, because it's not going to move forward if someone's not taking control. So someone came up, and it became like they had hors d'oeuvres there. They had, clients were bringing their friends and friends of clients, and then someone brought their baby. It was just born. It was
just born too.
Yeah, just born. Like they brought it to a shoot to show everybody their
Cats,
new
not
baby.
kids.
Now that doesn't work well. It becomes like, well, let's have the baby in the rug. Oh, did you get that? Now you probably know that you just can't set lights up for a shot and then have a kid walk through, and then all of a sudden that's lit perfectly for that kid.
Right.
It's like this. I'm looking for reflections. I got all this is someone's home. They've got glass cabinets, mirrors. I'm trying to get. And I can't do with digital, because I take a picture and look for the flashes. I have to predict that there's a reflection somewhere, and then I'm seeing myself in a reflection. I'm seeing a flash. So this baby's crawling around. I'm a people pleaser. I'm like, oh yeah, sure. Oh look, they're behind the curtain. Isn't that cute? That'd be great in the commercial. So I lost total control. I shot what they wanted me to shoot. The exposure wasn't good because the light's here. The kid's walking over there. They're like, did you get that? Did you get that? So at the end of the day, I sent the film back, got it back. I didn't have anything usable.
Oh no.
It was there. Everybody was there for me. And I had nothing usable. I had to call the guy up at the station and say, I got nothing.
Oh no.
I got nothing. He goes, you don't have any shots? I go, I don't. And I had to seriously think about what went wrong that day. And I wasn't a jerk. I should have been more bossy. I should have been the guy who was not popular, but I wanted to make everybody happy. I could have said, baby has to stay aside, cute baby, I love it, but can we stay in the other room? You got to take charge. And it happened at a wedding too, when I did a wedding the first time.
Oh, jeez.
I was really quiet, and you know how weddings go.
Oh, weddings
The
are
groomsmen
crazy.
are all talking and having fun. The bridesmaids are talking and having fun. The relatives haven't seen each other in a while.
The
and
mother
out
of the
control.
bride.
And you got to say, I need these people here now. And you got to be mean. You got to say, guys, over here, talk later, and you're the jerk. And it doesn't matter that day you're the jerk, because after that, they'll forget about it.
Right.
When they see the photographs are good.
Yeah.
So those are 2 points, I think, in my career that were important, where I had to come out of my shell and think, this is sink or swim. You be a jerk on location and get done what needs to get done, regardless of whether people think you're great or not. Because when it's over with, they'll remember the photographs, which will last forever, and
Yeah.
won't remember the fact that you got it done. They'll say, you know what? I respect this guy. He made us do what he needed to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
And
it's really,
that's
it's
a
your
tough
talent at the end of the day.
transition. Right.
Yeah.
And you're there for that reason, so it's time to be that way. You know, I'm dealing with high-end lawyers, executives. They read something really bad, and I got to tell them, I'm doing this for you. You're not going to like how that looked. And it was very monotone. I got to tell them things they don't want to hear.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and you got to pick it up a little bit and be happy. Those are the difficult things in the business. That it's not about the equipment I had. I had all the best stuff.
Right.
And I'm thinking, I'm ready, but I wasn't ready for people.
Oh, what a great learning experience that is, but to share that, because I think a lot of people don't understand that.
Oh, there's a lot of situations like that where you say, I either got to do this or I forget about it. Now, there are people who hit those crossroads and say, I can't be a jerk on location. I can't do that. I'm not going to be in business. I even had a guy when I was doing a seminar on networking. He was starting an IT company. He goes, what advice do you have for someone who's shy and starting a business? I go, not be shy.
Assertive. You need to be assertive.
You have to be assertive.
Yeah.
He goes, I don't like talking to people. And I said, well, here's my thing. What shy is? Shy is a racket. Shy means please don't let you discover me. So it's not a genetic thing. It's a learned thing. It's a habit. So if you treat it like a habit can be broken. A habit is doing something for 30 days consistently, and then it eventually goes away. If you do something else, replace it with something else. So I said, the only choice you have, if you're going to be quiet, you're not going to promote your company. You're not going to get business. You're not going to start conversations. You're not going to get to know people, because you're not a communicator if you're shy. So somebody in your life passed on information to you that they thought was good information that wasn't really true. They passed on their limiting self-beliefs and said, the world's like this, the world's like that, no one treats you fair, whatever it was. You believed it. It may have been someone you trust, and they may have meant well, but they told you something that wasn't really true about their version of the world. You have to figure out what that is and get past that. So I said, my advice to you is spend the next 30 days, once a day, start a conversation with someone you don't know. Whether you're in the grocery line saying, oh, I love those Pop-Tarts, those are great. I use those here, I love those shoes. And you're going to get rejected, and and some people are going to start engaging in the conversation. And you're going to learn that's what life is. Some people are going to accept you, but you'll learn that the majority of people are nice and they want to have a conversation, and nothing happened to you if they rejected you or talked to you.
And that's
You
human
survived
nature.
it. Right.
Yeah.
So you get that, you're shy in that respect, and you have to realize that it's not you, it's them. If they're being mean, that's not you, it's them.
Well, I think communication too is a skill set.
Oh, it is.
Oh,
It's the most
100%. It's the
important
most,
skill set.
yeah.
There's communication, networking, and sales. I think are all related.
Yep.
And they're all the types of things that if you're not a communicator, you're not going to be in business for very long.
Right.
You have to communicate. You have to know how to understand people and psychology. So I did a podcast, and I always post stuff on LinkedIn, connecting the dots between the people who can't find jobs and their communication skills. You can graduate from school and have all these degrees and complain about, I got all these degrees, job market's bad, I can't find a job. Well, let's look at your sales skills. You know, and they don't like sales skills. So I said, let's call them relationship skills then. Because you can find a job if you improve your relationship and communication skills. So knowing how to say hi to someone, knowing how to start a conversation, knowing how to build relationships will get you a job faster. So I had a guy on my podcast who was, he was in HR. He was looking for a new job in HR. So he goes to my gym and we had a conversation. I go, well, you're in HR and now you're looking for a job. So you're in the job hunt, interviewing people like you. I say, what advice would you give to someone in that respect? And he started going on, and we had a conversation. I said, do you think it's an advantage to know someone at the company to get a job? Because everything's like AI. They review your resume. They take the machine algorithm decides if you get a job or not.
Yeah,
but there are
looking for
certain things you can
things.
do. And I said, is it really an advantage to call someone up and say hi? He goes, it does push things in your direction. And my philosophy when I got my first job was, I don't care what I do. I want to work at this TV station. I'll cut the grass. I'll take out the garbage, but I will get to know people here. And when there's a job opening, who are they going to hire? Who they know. So I said, get to know somebody. It's not what you know, it's who you know, so get to know somebody.
Facts.
So in all those situations, I said, it's about getting to know people. No matter where you are, I called up. I have a video on LinkedIn where I made a phone call to a guy who is a technical director for Entertainment Tonight. And this is a great story. I said, I want to be a technical director. And this is before internet, before cell phones. I made a bunch of phone calls. The operator connected me to Paramount Pictures, which connected me to Entertainment Tonight, which connected me to Wayne Parsons in the control room. We had a conversation for like 2 hours. Wow. Now I had a connection in LA if I wanted to go out there. I had a guy I could go out and talk to. And it's that type of thing. And a job offer I had in Buffalo was because I got a bunch of rejection. There's a shoebox full of rejection letters, all piled up. And one guy said, I appreciate what you're doing. We just don't have any openings right now. And it looked more personal. So I view that as a sales lead in my mind. But I didn't think of it then as a sales lead. But I treated it then, not realizing it, as a sales lead. So I called him up. Hey, appreciate it. Started a conversation with him. Got to know him. I said, can you review my tape? Because when you're in video, you show someone you're real, and they look at it, like it or don't like it. He says, I know what you're trying to do. We don't have any openings here, but I'd be happy to look at your tape and criticize it. And I sent it to him. He sent it back, and he criticized it, tore it all up. He says, I know you're looking for compliments here, but this is where it is. I'm like, I appreciate all
That's
that.
actually
That's
better,
better,
in my
yeah.
opinion.
It doesn't matter what he says. That's what people don't realize. You're engaged with someone right now, and you have a conversation with someone. Bad or good, you're talking with someone. They're getting to know you. So while I was in that conversation, I said, hey, would you mind if I come out and take a tour of your facility? Again, it's a little bit of a lead, taking the next step in a relationship. And he said, sure, come on out. And I know what you're doing, but we have no openings right now. So I said, yeah, in a couple of weeks, I'll be able to come out and take a tour. I just want to watch the person who's doing what I want to do. And I can shadow someone. He says, great. So a few weeks go by. I take the trip to Buffalo from Erie. It's sleet, snowing outside. I park. I go inside. I meet the guy. His name's Gary. He shows me around the station. And I sit during their noon news, watch the guy who's a technical director and a director at the same time, which was fascinating to me. He's calling the shots and pressing the buttons. Everything you see on TV, he's doing everything all by himself. I'm like, that's fascinating. He walks around, shows me the rest of the station, and says, since the last time I talked to you, we have 2 openings now. I'm like, this is a good lesson.
There you go.
I've talked about this on LinkedIn. It's a great story. He goes, we have a full-time position and we have a part-time position open. He said, it wasn't available when we talked last. So if I'd have listened to the resume on file, would have never known about these positions. And last time I talked to him, he said, we have nothing. But I'm standing there now, and things have changed in a couple of weeks. We go into his office, and we sit down at this table, and he goes into a filing cabinet and pulls out a folder this thick of resumes of every color you can imagine. I mean, decorated orange, green, everything you can imagine is colorful. And he went through this. He goes, I'm sorry, I can't find your resume. So here it is. I got a letter that says, we'll keep your resume on file. No, we don't have any openings right now, but he did a few weeks later. And he doesn't have my resume on file at all. But I had 2 opportunities right there to take a job.
Yeah.
So that was one thing I was doing to find a job. But I had multiple things going on at the same time. I was also working at WJT in Erie. And I know they have a relationship with Channel 4 in Pittsburgh. So I asked the general manager, I said, hey, I know we get their old equipment. They're the big brother out there, and we get their old set, their cameras. I go, do you have a connection out there you can introduce me to? Because I'd like to go to Pittsburgh because we'd love to keep you here. But I get it. You want to move on. He gave my resume to the general manager at WTAE. He gave my resume to the chief engineer at WTA, who gave it to his secretary, who called me in for an interview. So when I got the interview, so I was talking with the guy in Buffalo while I had this going on. He says, are you interested? I said, yeah, but I got an offer for an opportunity at Pittsburgh, to go there and tour for a part-time summer relief job. Only going to last from May to November. I said, I want to check the opportunity out because Pittsburgh's a bigger city than Buffalo at the time.
Of course.
So I wanted to go there.
Still is.
So I
like
ended
that.
up, I went there and did the same thing, toured the facility, went back again, and toured it again, and interviewed, talked to everyone who's doing the job I wanted to do. And of course, I got hired there part-time, found some attic apartment in Pittsburgh. I had a full-time opportunity in Buffalo, but I took the chance at this, maybe someone will be there when I'm done, because I just want to know people. I want them to know how good of a worker I am. So in the 6 months I was there during summer relief, a couple of people retired, and I stayed on.
There you were.
The whole time, and I've been at Channel 4 then, and I was there from 88 to 2001 until I started my own job. But it was communication skills, sales skills, networking skills. That's how you get work. That's how you find a job. That's how you move up. That's how if you don't want to even work for yourself and you want to move up in your company, communication skills. And I
Well,
was
regardless, you're always selling yourself.
you're right, you are.
Always.
Everything's
you are your
about
brand.
selling.
Yeah.
And I said the difference between someone being an accountant and owning an accounting firm are sales skills or relationship or communication skills. Owning your own law firm or just being a lawyer is communication skills. Moving up and getting bigger and growing is relationship, marketing, communication networks, all that kind of stuff. They're all related. And I think the sooner people realize that, the better. And don't blame it on the economy. How many people have you started a conversation with today? And I'll bet the more people you start conversations with, the odds increase of you getting where you want to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And Mom said, "Don't talk to strangers." I always laugh. There's like the little, you've probably seen it, like floating around on Instagram, and it's like, growing up, my parents told me not to meet strangers. As a photographer, I meet strangers alone in the woods.
Right.
That's very
But
true.
you have to, take that with a grain of salt. But you got to be careful. But
Yeah.
obviously, there's safe ways to meet people and safe ways to not meet people. Are always on guard. But I found out that that's getting out of your shell and staying out of the comfort zone and what I call the growth zone, which is the uncomfortable zone, is where you got to be to grow.
Well, the more uncomfortable you are, usually the better.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I found that being at Channel 4 for years doing the same job, I was too comfortable. And that made me antsy. It made me frustrated. There was more to me than just doing the same thing every day. So eventually I had to bust out. I can't do the same. I can't work 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. Cannot do that. I was getting angry. People called me, my nickname was Dr. Minus because I was always cynical. Everything was like, I'm tired of this, the company this, the company that. I'm like, this is just a toxic environment. I'm making it a toxic environment because this isn't where I want to be. But if it would have been the kind of job that constantly challenged me, I was moving up and learning all the time, that's what would satisfy me.
So you're hungry.
Right. I always want to learn. I want to read more. I want to take on a new task, a new skill. I want to get better at something all the time. And the same job every day is comforting to some people. It is not comforting to me.
I guess maybe you were hangry. Sounds like. That's whenever you're angry because you're hungry. So it sounds like you are hangry.
You're hangry.
That's me. I do get hangry too. Yeah.
I think that's like good though, because it sounds like from the very beginning you kind of had an idea of like what you wanted to do. And I think that so many people go through life not figuring things out until they're 45, 50, 55. And anybody can start anything at any age. But how cool is it that you were able to start from high school all the way through and like still continue on this journey and continue to learn and like serve the people in the community and different communities from the sounds of things and actually enjoy yourself.
There was still a lot of
incredible
doubt.
about the choices that you make. Like every choice you make takes you down. And there was these little books when I was young where it was like, take this choice, and then the story that you get is this one. I forget what they're called.
Goosebumps?
No.
They do have that in Goosebumps.
Oh, okay.
They
I don't even know what
have,
Goosebumps are, but
What?
Goosebumps stories? That's a whole series of books.
You've never...
I'm
getting you
way
that.
older than you.
I'm getting
but-
you that for Christmas. Oh, man.
But I mean, really, you were between a motorcycle and a camera, and you chose that path.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing about that is, in Gary Vee, Gary Vee.
I
Everyone
love
talks
Gary
about
Vee.
He was giving somebody advice, and this happened to me when I was at Channel 4, when I applied for other jobs within Channel 4 that I really wanted and didn't get. And when you apply for a job that you really want and you don't get it, it's disheartening and it's horrible. But what you don't see is what that will lead to. Not every bad thing has a bad outcome. It's just there are too many ping pong things that happen. Not getting those opportunities led me to something better.
Right. Yeah.
So just because it's bad, it's how you handle that that makes it worse or better.
Right.
So not getting a job, not getting the opportunity you want, not getting the client you want, whatever, it just opens up other opportunities. And where one door closes, another one opens, but it's not it's not the end of the world because an opportunity. I mean, I changed my mind on how many times. I was working at Channel 4. I started getting into real estate. I was taking real estate lessons at night, going to be a realtor part-time. And then I actually applied to law school. I applied to 13 different law schools,
Wow.
took the LSAT test, thinking maybe I want to be a lawyer because I love logic. I love thinking like that. So it was one of those times where I really had to think, what am I looking for? What is it? Is it getting out of the TV station that I want? Is that what? Because I know if I start a law career, I'm starting as a new guy, working my way up. Am I going to get to this same point again? So there were a lot of times when I thought, it's got to be something more than just what I'm doing. It's part of it, but there's something that's not being satisfied, and I'm looking for it in real estate, looking for it in the law degree. I said, I need to do a business where I'm meeting people, I'm learning something new. It's constantly challenging. It's frustrating a lot, so I'm not always content. So, I mean, as long as I'm not content and I'm moving around, I think that was it. So it was refining what I think I'm good at and what I think I can get better at, and never close the door to anything as long as I'm not too far off the beaten path. I've gone down other paths that have been a distraction at times business-wise. This is not related to what I'm doing. I thought it would be an opportunity. It's not. It's a complete distraction. I want to stay focused, and I just want to stay in my lane and learn with them. There's plenty in my lane, diversity in my lane, from live directing to photography to video, different types of video, different types of photography. You could say, someone will ask me, can you photograph my wedding? I'm like, I don't do weddings. That's a whole different thing.
It is.
A foot doctor doesn't
beast.
work on your teeth.
That's
They're both
right.
doctors, but they're very different.
Yes.
When someone says, why don't you just come to my wedding and do it? I go, first thing you're going to ask me is, can I see samples? I don't have any. Can I see a price list? I have no structure. I don't have the equipment. I don't have the structure for the day. So you don't want me doing that.
Yeah.
But that's something if you want to. I did it. I did 250 weddings as a video photographer, or as a video guy. And I don't do weddings anymore. But that was a whole structure. Even though I've done it, I still know what it takes, and I'm not prepared for that.
It's
I'm
taxing.
not prepared to photograph weddings. So there's different things I can get into. There's still plenty of opportunity out there in many different directions. It's just go the directions that you like. You're not going to do everything you like. It's not a party every day.
Right.
I don't have the most ideal clients every day. A lot of frustrating situations, but every one of those situations I learn from.
I think there's a mistake too when people start chasing money.
Oh, yeah.
I was thinking about that on the way here.
Yep. I've seen so many people like, oh my gosh, I got this client and they're going to pay me all this money. And then you start working with them. You're like, oh my God, it's so not worth it.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare.
I mean, really, money is not everything.
It's a distraction. It can be a distraction.
And you see that first one come in, you're like, oh wow, this is great. And then you have to do something for that money. And oftentimes that's the worst thing. Yeah. And you're miserable.
Yeah, and you don't want to do the job. You're like, I would have rather not had the money. And
Right.
And sometimes that's all your time. And you tell them, this is how much time I have for this, and this equals this, and they don't understand that, or they do understand it, and they don't care.
Yeah, I had someone call me. I advertise in a couple of different places, and I have my SEO is getting ramped up, and I also have a production hub site. When you go on, you ever have a production hub? You can find local photographers, videographers, or whatever. So every now and then I'll get a call from what I'll call them grinders. They'll give me, this is how much you pay for a full day of work. I'm like, there is no chance.
yeah.
They can't do that because they're trying to mass produce a whole lot of stuff. And it got regular work coming on a regular basis, and I'm like, that's not the regular work I'm looking for. I've probably increased my income more by saying no to so many things like that than by saying yes. It's like the money grab. Like, oh, it's a quick $250, but it's not a good future. That's a wrong direction to go.
Absolutely.
It's not alluring
I've
at all.
learned that when you say yes to something, you're saying no to so many other things.
Right, yeah.
So I've learned to start saying no.
And saying no means you can say yes to it, but it leaves you the opportunity to say yes to other things.
Absolutely.
And that's a tough one to swallow. I think you have to learn that no is profitable in a lot of situations at the right time. And if you say no at the wrong time, you can recover.
Right.
If you say yes at the wrong time, you can recover. You can. There's nothing you can do that's really that devastating in business that you can't recover from if you're cautious and smart.
Right. And I've learned too that when you were saying before, like I have to be a jerk. I try not to be a jerk, but I have learned.
Words, but you're right. Yeah, you got to be assertive.
Assertive, right?
Yeah.
But I have learned that sometimes if you have to repeat yourself more than once, that's okay because usually people don't listen often,
right?
Or don't want to listen or be told things. But you kind of just have to like stand your ground and explain things, oftentimes more than once. But it's for their own benefit,
right.
And that whole boundaries thing people don't like. But
Oh, yeah.
however, they're important, and they're important for you. They're important for your client. They're important for life in general. And I have learned that my boundaries have gotten a little tighter
Yeah.
these days.
Yeah.
You know, and my pool of people that I let into my inner circle has tightened as well. You know, it's not everybody knows everything, and they don't need to.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, whenever I'm explaining things, I don't have to say, when I say no, I don't have to say no, and this is why. No is actually a complete sentence.
Right.
And that
I think
doesn't have to be more than that.
there's some like generational, I was just talking about this with some of my friends, like the explanation, like the need to explain yourself. Like I think there is some like generational teachings there of like people feeling that they constantly have to explain themselves. And my parents,
It's like a guilt thing, probably.
yeah. Sorry, Mom, I'm about to out you. But my mom is always like, well, just tell them no because, and then she'll say why. I'm like, no, Mom, just tell them no. They don't need to know anything else. Like, just say like, no, thank you, like not right now, or oh, I'm sorry, I can't make it. Like, that's all you have to say. You don't have to tell them.
It's like a sales
like
call.
anything
People
else.
get into that when you get calls and they say, "Well, why aren't you interested?" I'm not.
I'm
Well,
just
why?
Because.
I'm not, and that's my answer. You
Yeah.
can spend your time with me. I'm not or someone else. But it's being able to not need to follow up
Yeah.
and say, "The conversation's over. I'm not interested." You don't need to know why. I know why. We're not interested right now. You know,
Yeah, you
and
don't
that's
owe anybody that explanation.
I know. But in that explanation, you still have to, in dealing with people and being assertive, I still, when I communicate with someone, often it's clarity that makes the situation much better. And so I'll spend more time trying to understand than to be understood. So repeating myself a lot doesn't always help. So I want to ask, why aren't you absorbing what I get where you are right now. You've got an agenda. I'm starting to see your point of view. You want to get this done in a hurry. So once I get on your side and understand why you're reacting the way you are, then I want to say, okay, now I see where you're coming from. Maybe I'll address from a different angle, not changing my position, but trying to be more empathetic and understand where you're coming from as opposed to being understood.
70% listening, 30% talking.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, very true. Good stuff.
Yeah.
So
Good little
smart.
podcast.
Yeah, this is a whole lot. I feel like I'm absorbing a lot of things right now.
You know why?
You should watch my
70%.
podcast.
Yeah, 70% listening.
I do.
30%
All the stuff
talking.
I talked about, I'll probably have on a podcast. I have on a podcast, or I have it on
Yeah.
LinkedIn.
Well, and I think it's just cool too. Like, I did not necessarily to the extent of what you're talking about, but like I job shadowed a lot of people. I did a lot of meetups just to meet like other creatives in the area and different things like that. So I think that sometimes different communities, I don't just want to say the arts, but there's like different subdivisions of communities that people tend to like gatekeep and like not talk about their experience or like what's going on. And at the end of the day, we can all learn from each other. Like you telling me this information, like I'm not coming for your job. I'm just trying to learn. Like, and I just want to be more effective in what I'm doing and making sure that I'm taking the right steps. So it's like good to have people like you that are like-minded and open-minded to talking about different situations so that everybody can benefit from it.
I think gatekeeping is more of an instant gratification thing, thinking that you're going to stop someone from competing with you when you don't realize what you're not starting by opening up to somebody, what you're closing down by not helping someone else out. There's a future more than this instant. This person doesn't know what I know now, so I'm still better than them, as opposed to building a relationship with someone that can turn into something much better. So
What's my tagline that I always use? My hashtag?
Community over collaboration. over-
Collaborate, don't compete.
Now I'm on the community aspect. Collaborate, don't compete. Collaboration over competition.
Right, exactly.
is
It
where-
benefits. And yeah, you may
Yeah.
think if someone's going to do it themselves, they're going to do it themselves.
Yeah,
Through you or through
they're going to
someone
find a
else.
way whether you
Yep.
tell them something or
Right.
not. It's just going to get done.
Yep.
So
Well, we always end our podcast with a little frostbite.
I've seen a few of your podcasts.
no way. Now why is that?
Every single one of them, actually. I'm a big fan.
All right, Dom. She gets to pick all of them, so.
Oh, okay. Oh, the pressure's on everybody. Alrighty.
Not that one.
Okay, we're going to the second one.
Keep going.
I feel like you talked about a lot of these questions. Oh my gosh. Okay.
He didn't get to see them beforehand. So he has no
I know.
idea.
I feel like he literally. Oh man. Okay. Oh, I got it. All right. Could you provide us with one frostbite of knowledge, that solid, undeniable truth that keeps you motivated even when things do get like hectic and tough and difficult, and maybe we're not working with the right clients or not on the right path? And what is keeping you going despite that negativity?
Yeah, there's always a lot of negativity in it. And I think the more negativity I get, and everybody gets to a point where you're like, I've had it with this. Do I really need to deal with all this stuff? So I start one by one shutting things out, whether it's people I get out of my life, or I find the negative and start pushing it away. And I believe that you have this narrative in your head, that the words you keep repeating to yourself. And so I dig in and start listening to those words. Like, what am I thinking of right now? And then why am I thinking that? Like, what led to this? Yeah. What led to this negative thought? And why isn't it a positive thought? Mm-hmm. And if you dig down to the root of that and find out, okay, this is something like I'm struggling with inside, or it's because I didn't want to be wrong, or it's an ego thing, or it's maybe I should have admitted something, but whatever led you to that depression or that bad moment, there's something you can learn from that. So I go into maybe shutdown mode where I need to be alone. I need to think. I need to take control of my life a little more. I need to stay away from negative people and away from negative thoughts. Mm-hmm. And then if I'm in a situation where it's all negative people, like I'll go on a job somewhere in a say a corporation, and I won't say who it was, but I was downtown, and I was in this business, and all they were doing was talking about how much they hated their jobs, the boss, the man. I do this. I hate my job. It was constant. I thought, I got to get out of here, because these people are they drive me crazy. It's like being a cop every day. All you see is negative stuff, and you got to go away and flush your brain out. Mm-hmm. And I think when things get tough like that, I start listening to the narrative in my head and tracing it back. And it's almost like meditating, where you start, where did that thought come from? Mm-hmm. And then what led to that? And you start to get to the core. I think I'm creating my problems. When you dig it down, I think I'm here because of 100% my actions. And it's not about the problems I'm having. It's always about how I'm handling them. Mm-hmm. So maybe I need to handle the problems differently.
Wow, that's so much self-reflection. That's great.
I know, yeah. Well, dang.
Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. We really appreciate it. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm glad you could be here.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks. I'm glad to have Dominique here.
Oh, love it. Well, that's another episode for us. We are so glad to have Al on the show today, and we will see you in the next episode.